Lee Taeho walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. His black suit looked simple compared to the strange clothes and armor worn by the alien beings around him. Behind him, Captain Park Jin-woo and Dr. Kim Soo-jin followed quietly. Their footsteps echoed in the huge room. The chamber was bigger than any building on Earth. Crystal walls stretched up so high that Lee could barely see the ceiling. Hundreds of alien creatures sat in rows that curved around the center floor. Some looked like giant insects with clicking sounds coming from their mouths. Others were like floating clouds of gas that glowed with soft light. A few looked almost like humans, but with scales instead of skin. Lee had been Earth's ambassador to the galaxy for 5 years. He had met many strange beings during that time, but today felt different. Today, the air in the chamber felt heavy, with danger. A loud voice filled the room. "Human ambassador, step forward." The voice came from a large creature sitting on the highest platform. This was Veltar, the leader of the Galactic Council. He looked like a mix between a lizard and a dragon. His skin was dark green with scales that caught the light. His eyes glowed yellow like fire. When he spoke, sharp teeth showed in his mouth. Lee walked to the center of the chamber. He kept his face calm, even though his heart was beating fast. Around him, hundreds of alien eyes watched his every move. "Humanity has been part of our galaxy for 50 of your Earth years," Veltar said. His voice was deep and scary. "We have watched your people spread to 17 star systems. We have seen how fast you build new homes on other planets." Dr. Kim Soo-jin stepped closer to Lee. She was one of Earth's best scientists who studied alien life. Her job was to help humans understand other species. But right now, she looked worried. "Your growth concerns us," continued another voice. This came from a being made of pure energy that floated in a special container. Her name was Zephyra, and she spoke like electricity crackling. "No species has ever expanded so quickly after joining our galaxy." Lee knew this was true. When humans first left Earth and found other planets, they built cities and farms faster than anyone expected. Human families had many children. Human scientists learned new things quickly. Human workers could adapt to almost any planet. Captain Park stepped forward. He was the leader of Earth's space military forces. His uniform had medals that showed he had fought in many battles to protect human colonies. "Honored council members," he said, "humanity only seeks to live in peace with all species." A sound like laughter came from the insect-like creatures. But it was not a happy sound. One of them spoke with a voice that buzzed like 1,000 bees. "Peace? Your military ships are stronger than ours. Your weapons technology grows every month. This is not the behavior of a peaceful species." Dr. Kim looked at her tablet. Numbers and charts showed on the small screen. She had been studying the other species in the galaxy for years. She knew that most of them had stopped growing. Long ago, they built the same ships, used the same weapons, and lived the same way for hundreds of years. Humans were different. Humans never stopped trying to make things better. "We have made a decision about your species," Veltar announced. His yellow eyes stared directly at Lee. "Humanity will accept our guidance or face the consequences." The chamber became very quiet. Even the small sounds of alien breathing and movement stopped. Lee felt like the whole galaxy was holding its breath. "What kind of guidance?" Lee asked. He kept his voice steady and calm. Another alien spoke. This one looked like a giant mushroom, with tentacles instead of arms. His name was Mothkai, and his voice sounded like wind blowing through dead leaves. "You will limit how many children your people can have. You will stop building new weapons. You will ask our permission before settling on new planets. You will accept council observers on all your worlds." Lee's hands formed into fists at his sides, but he did not let the anger show on his face. What the council was asking was impossible. They wanted humans to stop being human. They wanted Earth's people to become slaves. Dr. Kim's tablet made a soft beeping sound. She looked at the message on her screen and her face became pale. She moved closer to Lee and whispered something in his ear that made his eyes widen slightly. "And if we refuse?" Captain Park asked. Veltar's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "Then we will surround all your worlds with our ships. No human will be allowed to leave their planets. No supplies will reach your colonies. You will slowly starve until you accept our wisdom." Lee thought about the message Dr. Kim had just shown him. It was from Earth, sent through secret channels that the Council could not read. The message was short, but very important. It said only, "Protocol 7 is ready, awaiting your signal." Protocol 7 was something the Council knew nothing about. It was a plan that Earth's government had been working on in secret for many years. A plan for exactly this situation. "The United Earth government needs time to discuss your offer," Lee said carefully. "This is a big decision that affects all of humanity." Veltar's eyes narrowed. "How much time?" "1 full day," Lee replied. "You have 12 hours, Veltar said firmly. "No more. When the time ends, you will give us your answer. Accept our guidance or face quarantine of all human worlds." As the council session ended, Lee and his team were escorted out of the chamber by alien guards. The guards looked like robots, but moved like living creatures. They did not speak, but their weapons were clearly visible. Walking through the long hallways of the council station, Lee appeared calm and defeated. But Dr. Kim and Captain Park noticed something. Lee's right hand was moving in a strange pattern against his leg. His fingers tapped. Long, short, short, long, short, long, long. This was a code that certain people across human space would recognize. Immediately. It meant, "Begin Protocol 7. Execute immediately. No delays." As they reached their quarters on the council station, none of the 3 humans spoke about what had just happened. But they all knew that in 12 hours, the galaxy would be a very different place. Lee looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, in 17 different star systems, humans were receiving a message that would change everything. The Council thought they had cornered humanity. They thought humans would surrender like so many species before them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The countdown had begun. Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, floating above the human colony of New Busan. Through the large windows, he could see the planet below, with its cities full of lights. Millions of humans lived down there, building new lives among the stars. His communication officer, Yoon Na-ri, turned to face him. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "Admiral, we're getting the coded message from all fleet commanders across human space. The same pattern from Ambassador Lee." Kang looked at the message on his screen. The code was simple but clear. Protocol 7 was starting now. This was the moment they had prepared for but hoped would never come. "Send confirmation to all ships," Kang ordered. "Begin Protocol 7 immediately." On the planet below, Colonial Administrator Choi Bin was already moving. His office was busy with people running back and forth, carrying papers and talking quickly into communication devices. Maps of the colony covered every wall, showing factories, homes, and important buildings. "How long do we have?" asked his assistant, looking worried. 10 hours before the council expects an answer," Choi replied. "But we need to be ready in 6 hours. Start with the essential personnel evacuation. Families with children go first." Across 17 human worlds, the same scene was happening. Colony leaders were opening secret files they had hoped never to use. Factory managers were changing what their workers built. Ship captains were getting new orders that seemed strange but urgent. Engineer Moon Soo Young worked in the orbital, shipyards above New Seoul. This colony had become humanity's biggest place for building things. Huge machines floated in space, putting together ships and equipment. But today, the machines were building something different. "These designs don't look like anything we've made before," Moon said to her supervisor. She pointed at the strange shapes on her computer screen. The new ships were long and thin, built for speed rather than comfort. Director Bae Kyung-ho looked around to make sure no one else could hear them. "You don't need to understand them, Moon. Just build them as fast as possible. Lives depend on it." The new ships were part of a plan that had been secret for 20 years. Human engineers had studied every alien ship they had ever seen. They learned how different species built their technology. Then they combined the best ideas into something new. On Earth, Dr. Shin Hye-jin was packing the most important scientific research into special storage devices. These quantum drives could hold enormous amounts of information in something as small as a briefcase. Around her, other scientists worked quickly to save decades of human discoveries. "Professor, where are we sending all this?" asked her student, Lee Young-sik. He was carrying a box full of the storage devices. Dr. Shin smiled, but did not give a direct answer. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere the Council will never think to look." The research being saved was humanity's greatest treasure. Medical discoveries that could cure diseases, engineering knowledge that could build better ships, agricultural techniques that could grow food on any planet. All of it had to be protected. In space stations around human worlds, pilots were getting ready for the most important flights of their lives. Pilot Yang Min-ho checked his ship's systems one more time. His cargo hold was full of people, families, scientists, and workers who were essential for the plan to work. "Everyone ready back there?" he called to evacuation coordinator Oh Soo-bin. "All passengers secured," she replied. "These coordinates you gave me, they're in empty space." "Trust the plan," Jang said as he started the hyperdrive. "Everything will make sense soon." The genius of Protocol 7 was its simplicity. To anyone watching from outside, everything looked normal. People went to work. Ships moved between planets. Factories kept running. But underneath the normal appearance, humanity was quietly disappearing. The Council had sensors watching every human world, but the sensors only showed what humans wanted them to see. Special technology made empty ships look full. Holographic projectors made abandoned buildings look busy. Automated systems sent normal radio signals to make everything seem peaceful. On the Council station, the alien leaders waited for humanity's answer. They were confident that humans would surrender. Every species before them had chosen survival over freedom when faced with the Council's power. Veltar sat in his private chamber, looking at reports from his spies. "The humans show no signs of military preparation," he told his assistant. "Their ships continue normal trading routes. Their colonies appear calm." What Veltar did not know was that the normal ships his spies saw were actually empty drones. The calm colonies were running on automatic systems. The real humans were somewhere else entirely. The evacuation was happening in waves. First, families with children left their homes quietly during the night. Then scientists and engineers packed their most important equipment. Finally, the military forces began moving to secret positions. Captain Ryu Jae-sung commanded one of the new ships being built in the orbital yards. His crew was small but expert. Navigation officer Won Ha-young had studied star charts for months, finding safe routes through empty space. Weapons specialist Ko Dong-jun made sure their new technology was ready. "How many more ships are being built?" one asked as she watched the construction yards through their window. "Hundreds," Ryu replied. "Maybe thousands. Every human colony has been building them in secret." The ships were not just for transportation. They were mobile homes, complete with living areas, farms, factories, and everything humans needed to survive in space. Each ship could support thousands of people for years without needing to land on a planet. As the hours passed, more and more humans quietly left their worlds. But they did not scatter randomly across the galaxy. Instead, they moved toward specific meeting points that had been chosen years before. places where the Council's sensors could not easily find them. The most amazing part was how well the deception worked. Council ships patrolling near human worlds saw exactly what they expected to see: normal traffic, normal energy readings, normal communication signals. None of them realized they were looking at empty shells. Back on the Council station, Ambassador Lee prepared for his return to the Council chamber. He knew that in a few hours he would have to give the Council an answer. But by then, it would not matter what he said. The real answer was already being written among the stars. Dr. Kim checked her tablet one last time. Messages were coming in from all human worlds, using codes the Council could not break. Each message said the same thing. Protocol 7 complete. All personnel evacuated, awaiting final signal. Captain Park stood at the window, looking at the alien ships surrounding the Council station. Soon, those ships would rush toward human space, expecting to find millions of people ready to surrender. Instead, they would find empty worlds and a mystery that would change the galaxy forever. The countdown continued. In 3 hours, the Council would demand their answer. But humanity had already given their real response by simply walking away into the darkness between the stars. The greatest magic trick in galactic history was almost complete. The 12 hours were over. Ambassador Lee Tae-ho walked back into the Galactic Council chamber for the second time. But now he moved differently. His shoulders were straight and his steps were confident. Behind him, Dr. Kim Soo-jin and Captain Park Jin-woo looked calm and ready. The alien council members filled their seats, watching the humans with eager eyes. They were sure that humanity would surrender. Every species in the galaxy's history had chosen to obey rather than face the Council's anger. Veltar leaned forward on his throne, his yellow eyes glowing with satisfaction. "Human Ambassador, your 12 hours are finished. What is your government's decision?" Lee stopped in the center of the chamber. He looked around at all the alien faces staring down at him. Hundreds of creatures from dozens of different worlds, all waiting to hear humanity beg for mercy. "Honored council members," Lee began, his voice carrying clearly through the huge chamber. "The United Earth government has carefully considered your generous offer." The chamber became quiet. Even the small sounds of alien breathing stopped. "Everyone waited. And?" Veltar demanded, his claws clicking against his chair. Lee's answer was simple and clear. "We respectfully decline." The chamber exploded with noise. Alien voices filled the air with angry sounds. The insect-like Vex made loud buzzing noises. The gas beings crackled with electricity. The mushroom creatures released clouds of spores. That smelled terrible. Veltar's roar cut through all the other sounds. "Then you have chosen death. Activate the containment protocols immediately." Fleet Commander Raxel of the machine-like Nexus Collective began sending orders to Council ships. Across the galaxy, his metal fingers moved quickly over his control panel. "All enforcement fleets, proceed to human worlds. Prepare containment barriers around all human colonies." The Council was sure this would be easy. Humans had only been in space for 50 years. Their technology was new. Their military was small. How could they possibly resist the combined power of 12 advanced civilizations? But as the first Council ships reached human space, something strange happened. Scout Captain Kelnick of the Insect Vex sent a message that made everyone stop and listen. "Prime Veltar." Kelnick's voice buzzed with confusion. "The human colonies are empty." Veltar's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean, empty?" "There are no humans here, sir. The cities are intact, but there are no life signs, no ships in orbit, no people in the buildings. It's like they all just disappeared." More reports started coming, in from Council ships at other human worlds. Tactical analyst Mordan received the same message from every location. Colonies that had millions of people just hours ago now showed no signs of life. "The orbital stations are powered down, but undamaged," reported Deep Space Monitor Vashiti. Even their defense weapons are turned off. But where did everyone go? In the council chamber, Dr. Kim could not hide her small smile. We told you that humans were good at adapting to new situations. Veltar turned his burning gaze on her. Where are they? What trick is this? Ambassador Lee stepped forward. No trick, Council Prime. We simply did what humanity has always done. When faced with impossible choices, we found a third option. Chief Science Officer Nemtar, who looked like a living crystal, made musical sounds of alarm. Prime Veltar, I'm detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of our long-range sensors. Something very large is approaching. On the main display screen, new contacts began to appear. First one dot, then two, then dozens. The shapes that came out of hyperspace were unlike anything in the Council's databases. The ships were smooth and flowing, like they had been grown rather than built. Captain Ryu Jae-sung opened a communication channel from the lead vessel. Behind him, his bridge crew worked calmly at their stations. Navigation Officer Won Hai-young coordinated with other ships while weapons specialist Ko Dong-jun monitored their defensive systems. Galactic Council. Captain Ryu's voice came through. The speakers. This is the Earth ship Indomitable. You offered us a choice between obedience and death. We have chosen freedom. The council members stared at their screens in shock. Where 17 scattered human colonies used to be, there was now a single massive fleet. Every human ship, every colonist, every piece of important technology had been brought together into one place. Impossible, Veltar whispered. The logistics. Alone. How did they move entire populations without us detecting it? Fleet Admiral Hong Ju-won appeared on another communication channel. Her command bridge was visible behind her, with officers Kim Tae-jin and Song Mi-rae working at their stations. We spent 50 years learning from every species we met, Council Prime. Your technologies, your methods, your weaknesses. While you debated our fate, we prepared for our future. The human fleet was not just a collection of ships. It was an entire civilization that had learned to live in space. There were mobile cities where families lived and children played. There were traveling factories that could build anything humans needed. There were research stations that moved between stars, always learning new things. Council analyst Corthan studied the sensor readings with growing amazement. These ships, they've combined technologies from at least 8 different council species. But they've done it in ways we never thought possible. What the Council was seeing was the result of 50 years of careful observation and learning. Every time humans had met aliens, they had studied not just their technology, but how they thought and acted. Human scientists had taken the best ideas from every species and combined them into something new. How many ships are in that fleet? Demanded Warcast leader Torvon of the Warrior Dominion Empire. Initial count shows over 3,000 vessels, reported scanner technician Yildar. But sir, they're not all warships. Many appear to be civilian transports, mobile habitats, and industrial platforms. Fleet Admiral Hong's voice came through the speakers again. We are not your enemies, council members. We simply refuse to be your subjects. The galaxy is large enough for different ways of life. Strategic Coordinator Zendal of the Hive-Minded Collective made rapid calculations. Their fleet mobility is unprecedented. They're not bound to any fixed territory. They can go anywhere in the galaxy? This was the reality that was slowly sinking in for the Council. Humans had done something no species had ever done before. Instead of fighting for territory or accepting domination, they had chosen to become truly free. They had no planets to defend, no fixed cities to protect. They were everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You cannot survive like this forever, Veltar said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. You need resources, fuel, places to repair your ships. Admiral Kang Do-hyun appeared on the display from his flagship. We've been preparing for this moment for 20 years, Council Prime. Every ship in our fleet can operate independently for months. We have mobile refineries, portable farms, and manufacturing systems that can build whatever we need. The truth was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity had not just escaped the Council's trap. They had transcended it completely. They had become something the Council had never encountered, a truly nomadic, spacefaring civilization. Lee looked up at Veltar one last time. You wanted obedience, Council Prime. Instead, you've created something new. We are no longer bound by your rules or anyone else's. We are free among the stars. As the human delegates prepared to leave the council chamber, they did so not as defeated supplicants, but as representatives of something the galaxy had never seen before. The hunt was about to begin. Veltar's rage filled the emergency council meeting room. His claws scraped deep marks into the metal table as he spoke. They mock us. A young species dares to reject the wisdom of 12 ancient civilizations. Warcast leader Torvan slammed his armored fist down hard. Let us hunt them down like the animals they are. No species has ever successfully run from council justice. Around the table, the other council leaders nodded agreement. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. No one had ever challenged their authority and survived. But Strategic Coordinator Zendal raised a concern. Their fleet composition is unusual. They have combined technologies from multiple species in ways we never considered possible. The hunt began immediately. 12 different alien armies left their homeworlds, confident that their combined strength would quickly corner the human refugees. The Council had thousands of ships, advanced weapons, and the experience of many successful conquests. Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood in the command center of his converted colony ship New Busan. The ship had once been a peaceful transport that carried families to new homes. Now it served as one of humanity's main military vessels. Around him, screens showed the approaching council forces. Admiral, reported sensor specialist An So-young, we have 12 different council fleets moving toward our position. They will reach us in 6 hours. Kang looked at the display calmly. Tell Fleet Coordinator Nam Jong-soo that we are starting Dispersion Protocol Alpha. What happened next confused the council forces completely. The human fleet did not stay together to fight. Instead, it broke apart like a flock of birds, scattering when a hawk approaches. Hundreds of ships suddenly became thousands of smaller vessels, each flying in a different direction. Pursuit Commander Kixtail of the Insect Vex found himself chasing what looked like an important human transport ship. He followed it for hours, through hyperspace, sure that he would capture valuable prisoners. But when he finally caught up, he discovered it was not a real ship at all. It was a clever fake designed by tech specialist Lim Si-jin. The fake ship was filled with machines that sent out false signals to fool enemy sensors. While Kixtal wasted time chasing the decoy, the real transport ship escaped. Captain Yang Hai-won piloted it past the Vex fleet using stealth technology that humans had learned from studying 3 different alien species. Chief Tracker Velnok of the predatory apex species was famous for hunting dangerous creatures across the galaxy, but even he could not understand how humans fought. They have no honor, he reported to his commanders. They do not defend territory like normal species. They have no predictable patterns. What the Council was learning was that humans had spent 50 years studying more than just alien technology. They had also studied alien psychology and behavior. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every casual conversation had been a chance to learn how different species thought and acted. Dr. Cho Eun-jung, now serving as the fleet's expert on alien minds, had detailed files on every council species. She knew that the Sauroch were territorial and would always attack the same way. She knew that the Vex relied too much on chemical signals to communicate, making them easy to confuse. She knew that the Dominion Empire's sense of honor made them predictable in battle. Information warfare. Specialist Park Soo-hyun used this knowledge brilliantly. He sent false messages that made the hunting fleets think humans were in places where they were not. He triggered ancient territorial disputes between different alien species, causing them to fight each other instead of focusing on humans. The Saurok fleet attacked a group of human ships near an asteroid field, but the ships they found were more decoys. While they wasted ammunition destroying empty metal shells, the real human forces struck their supply ships from behind. The Machine Nexus Collective tried to use their advanced computers to predict where humans would go next. But humans did not follow logical patterns. They made decisions based on instinct and emotion, things that machines could not easily calculate. After 3 weeks of hunting, the Council forces had captured exactly 0 humans. Instead, they had lost dozens of their own ships to clever traps and surprise attacks. Worse, they were starting to fight among themselves. But the greatest shock came when Deep Space Scanner Othmir detected something that should have been impossible. Prime Veltar, the human fleet. It is growing larger. The Council had thought they were hunting refugees running for their lives. They were wrong. Humans were not just running away from their old colonies. They had taken everything with them, and were making it all work better than before. Diplomatic envoy Han Gite had been busy making contact with other species that the Council had ignored or mistreated. These were the small civilizations, the forgotten races, the ones the Council called primitive, because they were not strong enough to matter. To these species, humanity offered something the Council never had: true partnership instead of domination. Humans did not want to rule over other species. They wanted to work together as equals. The Keth were a peaceful species that lived on ocean worlds. The Council had never bothered with them because they had no valuable resources. But humans offered to share their water purification technology. In exchange for the Keth's knowledge of deep-sea farming, the Morlan were skilled builders who lived in asteroid belts. The Council thought they were too weak to be important. But humans saw their potential and offered them protection in exchange for help building mobile habitats. Within a month, the human fleet had become something unprecedented: a mobile alliance of multiple species working together by choice rather than force. They shared technology freely, learned from each other, and grew stronger as a group. They are not just avoiding us, realized strategic analyst Drem Kaur of the brain-like Mindweavers. They are turning our own expansion methods against us. The Council's way of growing had always been simple: find a weaker species, conquer them, take their resources, and force them to obey. It worked because most species were afraid and alone. But humans offered something different. They offered freedom, partnership, and the chance to be part of something bigger without giving up independence. To species that had lived in fear of the Council, this was incredibly attractive. Fleet Commander Ixtar reported from the frontier regions, "The Human Alliance now controls or influences over 60 star systems. But they own none of them. They simply move through space, offering help and asking for cooperation." Scanner technician Yildar added more disturbing news. Council member species are making secret contact with human traders. They want to know more about this alliance. The truth was becoming clear to the Council leaders. Their empire was based on fear and control, but fear only worked when people had no other choice. Humans had given everyone in the galaxy a different option. How do we fight an enemy that offers friendship instead of demanding surrender? Asked Warcast leader Torvon. Nobody in the Council chamber had an answer to that question. The hunt was becoming something else entirely. Instead of chasing criminals, the Council found themselves racing to prevent their own empire from falling apart, as more and more species learned that there was another way to live among the stars. The humans had done more than escape. They had started a revolution. 6 months had passed since humanity disappeared from their worlds. Ambassador Lee Tae-ho walked into the Galactic Council chamber once more, but this time, he was not alone. Behind him stood representatives from 47 different species. Some were refugees who had escaped council oppression. Others were simply looking for a better way to live among the stars. The council chamber felt smaller now somehow. The same crystal walls and floating platforms were there, but they no longer seemed as impressive or frightening. Veltar sat on his throne, but his proud posture was gone. His scales looked dull, and his yellow eyes showed worry instead of confidence. Around him, the other council members shifted nervously in their seats. "You return," Veltar said, though his voice lacked the power it once had. "Have you finally come to accept our guidance?" Lee's smile was patient, almost kind. "We have come to offer you the same choice you once offered us, Council Prime." Fleet Admiral Hong Ju-wan appeared as a hologram next to the ambassador. Behind her, the bridge of her ship showed busy activity as crew members worked at their stations. "Our alliance now includes 12 sectors of space. We have built 3 major shipyards, 17 research stations, and 42 colony worlds. All of them can move wherever we need them to go." The display screens around the chamber lit up with images that made the council representatives uncomfortable. They saw cities that traveled between stars, filled with happy families from many different species. They saw diverse beings working, together as equals, solving problems and building new technologies. Dr. Shin Hye-jin, now the Alliance's chief science coordinator, stepped forward with data that was amazing. When species work together freely without being forced to compete, innovation grows 10 times faster. We have made breakthrough discoveries in energy production, faster travel, and medical treatments that are better than anything in Council. Records. Economic Coordinator Kim Min-jun added more impressive numbers. Our trade networks now reach over 200 star systems. It turns out many species prefer voluntary cooperation to forced tribute payments. The truth was obvious to everyone in the chamber. While the Council had spent months trying to hunt down humanity, the Human Alliance had been growing stronger and more successful. They had proven that there was a better way to organize galactic civilization. Veltar's claws scraped against his throne. "What do you want from us?" Defense Minister Park Jun-ho, whose mobile fleets had successfully defended against every council attack, spoke quietly but clearly. "Join us." The chamber became completely silent. "Your way of ruling is failing," continued strategic analyst Oh Kyung-min. "You control through fear and expand through conquest. You steal technology instead of developing it together. You have built an empire, but empires always fall eventually. We have built something better, a community." Trade Representative Seo Jin-ah gestured to the displays showing busy commerce between dozens of species. "Half of your member species are already secretly trading with us. They want what we offer, freedom to grow, to explore, to become more than what they are." Cultural Exchange Director Moon Sarah added, "We have learned something remarkable, Council Prime. When beings do not fear each other, when they do not compete for dominance, they create wonders that none could achieve alone." Around the chamber, some council members began to look interested despite themselves. The fungal Sporax representative, Moth Kai, released chemical signals that showed curiosity. Even some of the insect vex were making soft, clicking sounds of consideration. Veltar looked around at his fellow council members, seeing doubt in their faces for the first time. "And if we refuse your offer?" Ambassador Lee shrugged with casual confidence. "Then you refuse. We are not like you, Council Prime. We do not demand obedience from anyone. We simply show that alternatives exist." Admiral Kang Do-hyun appeared on another display. "Your enforcement fleets are welcome to continue hunting us, of course, though I should mention that our mobile shipyards can now build vessels faster than you can deploy them to chase us." Research Director Dr. Yu Min-soo added with scientific precision, "Our studies of galactic history show that rigid control structures like the Council always collapse when faced with adaptive, decentralized alternatives. It is simply how civilizations evolve. The evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. The human alliance was not just surviving, but thriving in ways the Council could not match. More importantly, it was attractive to Council member species who were beginning to question thousands of years of rigid control. Councillor Pexran of the Insect Vex spoke for the first time in the meeting. What guarantee do we have? How do we know you will not simply become what we are once you have enough power? Constitutional scholar Lee Dong-min answered calmly. Because our entire structure is built around a principle you have never understood. Counselor, we grow stronger through diversity, not control through uniformity. Lee stepped forward one final time. The galaxy is vast, Council Prime. There is room for multiple approaches to civilization. You can continue your empire. We will continue our alliance, but we will no longer accept your authority over us or any species that chooses freedom. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Communications Officer Yoon Nari sent one final message to every world in Council space. The message was simple but powerful. The stars belong to all of us. If you seek alternatives to domination, you know where to find us. The aftermath came quickly. Within days, entire Council fleets began deserting. Whole planets declared independence and asked to join the human alliance. The rigid empire that had controlled the galaxy for millennia started crumbling as beings. Everywhere learned that they had choices. Some Council species tried to adapt, changing their ways to offer more freedom to their people. Others clung desperately to the old methods, becoming smaller and more isolated as their subjects left for better opportunities. The Kasari, who had been silent members of the Council for centuries, were among the first to officially leave. Their representatives stood before Veltar and simply said, "We choose the path of cooperation over the path of control." 6 months after that final meeting, the Galactic Council still existed, but it ruled over fewer than half the worlds it once controlled. The rest had simply walked away, choosing freedom over security, growth over stagnation, cooperation over domination. In the void between stars, a new kind of civilization continued to grow. Mobile cities traveled trade routes that changed constantly. Research stations shared discoveries freely among dozens of species. Defense fleets protected not territory, but principles. Veltar sat alone in his empty chamber, looking out at stars that no longer acknowledged his authority. Around him, the crystal walls reflected the light from distant suns where free beings built their own futures. The galaxy had learned something important. Sometimes the best response to a demand for obedience is to walk away without saying a word, and build something better among the infinite stars. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had simply shown everyone that there was another way to live in it. And that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all. The revolution was complete. The stars belonged to everyone now.